Hi everybody, it's Aaron Muth-Alamer and joined today with my great friend Josh JC from the flip side. And today we are going to do something kind of ambitious. We're going to rank all the Kiss studio albums along with the live albums and the compilations, 36 in all. So we're going to go like about five at a time to get started and then go down to one at a time once we get to the top 10. And I'll let JC start us off with number 36.
Awesome, man. Thank you for first doing this video, Aaron. I'm super excited. And I think my list may upset some Kiss fans, but that's okay because we're all different. So we'll see as we go. But I'm going to show my first six, so we get down to 30. And I'm going to start off with Peter Criss's solo album. And I know my buddies love this album, and I feel bad ranking it dead last. But that being said, I like it a lot more than when I first heard it. When I first heard it, Aaron, I was like, what the fuck is this? I was like, this doesn't sound anything like Kiss. So it has definitely grown on me, and I definitely enjoy it. It's just, not my favorite. Then I'm going to go with Sonic Boom. Still got some great songs on it. Overall, it's not my era of Kiss. The later two albums, which the next one I have on my list is Monster. I do enjoy Monster more than Sonic Boom, but really, if it wasn't for Peter Criss's solo album, these would be the two that I listen to the least. Now, from that point, the rest of the albums I generally listen to. I'm gonna go with Unmasked next, which I know is Chris Brophy's favorite, and I'm not. I know it's low and it's probably going to piss Chris off, which I'm sorry, dude. But I like I lean more towards the hard rock, and I just don't want to give my list away. The next one, I go back and forth on it. I do enjoy it quite a bit. And there's aspects of I love it. I almost wish I didn't know the background on Psycho Circus, because knowing that Ace and Peter were so miserable and they were trying to contribute and Paul and Gene really weren't having it, it takes away the love of the album for me, but it's got some killer tracks on it, and I do enjoy it a lot. The next one I'm gonna go with is The Elder, which I love this album. Even though it's so low, I really love it, and I love it 100 times more than the first time I heard it. The first time I heard it, there was like maybe a couple songs that I dug, and I was like, oh, well, I'm glad I bought it. But now I listen to it so much more, and I have to say that the vinyl community has made me love this album even more. I wish I had seen your Tipsy Tuesday with it. But just so all the Kiss fans out there know, from this point on, I love these freaking albums. Even though they're low, don't get upset. Next is Gene Simmons' solo album, which I still really dig. I don't really love the song When You Wish Upon a Star, and I know a lot of fans understand why he did it, and it has a deep meaning for him. So all the power to him. But that being said, I still really dig this album, and I think that it's 100 times better than his other solo album, Asshole.
Yeah.
All right, so that is my first six. So this is number 30.
All right. That's kind of similar to me, but I'll start off. My number 36 is Sonic Boom, my least favorite Kiss album. I do like a few of the songs on here I like quite a bit, but there's a few on here that kind of kill it for me. It's just at the age they were at, it's kind of younger lyrics.
Yeah.
That's what throws me off on it, and it's kind of like cringy at times. And then my number 35 is Monster. I'm right with you on that.
Yeah.
And I do like this slightly better. Of course, Hell or Hallelujah is great. There's some really good songs on this, but there's a couple on here, the same thing. I don't like as much. It's just these two are harder for me to get into. And from this point on, I absolutely love everything. Those I like a lot. All the rest I love. My number 34 is going to be Kiss World, the compilation, which I really like, but it's more of like if you were making a compilation for like women, this would probably be it. My wife really, because it's got like all the big hits and all that, and they're all good, but I just heard them so much that I don't listen to this as often as I do other ones. And there was some really cool stuff on there. I like that they put Shandy on it, and they put Hell or Hallelujah and Modern Day Delilah, which are two great songs from previous albums that are on here, which I really like. They did the really cool. They put those on here. And but some of my least favorite Kiss songs are on here too, though, like the cover songs and stuff. My number
Right.
33 is going to be Peter Criss Solo. I love this album, but I have to be in the mood to hear it. It's so different. And you know,
Yeah.
the songs like "I'm Gonna Love You," I love that one. And but there's a few that are just you just have to really be in the mood for it. And it's the weakest of the solo albums, in my opinion. Number 32, Live 3. Another, I love this album, and
Yeah.
this has a, you know, kind of a mixture of both eras of Kiss, the non-makeup and makeup years. But there's a couple of songs I don't like as well live on this as I do the studio versions, which is odd because usually I like the live versions better. But Lick It Up in particular, I like the studio version better than the live version, and there's a couple other ones like that. But overall, a really solid live album. It's really good. I wish they would have done a live album with Eric Carr. That would have
I
been cool.
agree.
Like a couple years earlier than that, and it would have
Yes.
been one of my favorites. Okay, at number we're at 31. I've got I only have it on cassette. And you gave it to me, so thanks. This is you
All
wanted
right.
the and this is a great
Nice.
the only reason it's so low is because there's an interview at the end of it. And that kind of kills it for me a little, but they have
Yeah.
some really cool deep tracks on here that aren't on any other live albums. They're really cool, like Take Me, stuff like that. And it's a really good track list on it. The only problem with this is I used to have the vinyl, and the vinyl has New York Groove with Eric Carr playing drums on it, and it's not on the cassette or the CD. It's on the vinyl only. And I wish I still had vinyl because like that was my favorite song on it. But that's my 31. And my number 30 is going to be this, and this is an awesome album, Kiss Icon. And this is it's got early stuff. It's only, if it's a double album, I'd like it more. But it's got everything from Strutter, and it ends with I Was Made for Loving You, and it's all stuff in between that era. So it's really good. It's got Rock and Roll Night Live on it. That's a better version. And it's the weird thing is it ends side one with Beth, and side one starts with Hard Luck Woman. That's kind of strange. But other than that, this is a pretty solid compilation. If it was a double album, it would be much higher. So that's my 36 through 30.
Awesome. So quick question. So you showed Kiss Alive 3, and when Kiss Alive 3 came out, they also came out with a VHS of the concert, but they came out with another VHS, which was called Kiss Confidential. It was like a documentary on Kiss. And that, I love that documentary because I'll be honest with you, I didn't really truly understand a lot of the backstory of, why they had so many guitarists, from Vinnie Vincent to Mark St. John to Bruce Kulick. And I loved Bruce Kulick. I was a Bruce Kulick fanatic. My question for you is, when the Kiss Alive 3 came out, to me, that I felt there was a resurgence of Kiss because of Revenge had done so well, and but what was your thoughts during that time period?
I loved it too, and I still love it. It's just a couple of songs I think are better studio, and usually all the Kiss stuff is better live or is good. And there's a couple songs on here that I'm not a huge fan of. Like I said, let me look here. Oh, that's God Gave Rock and Roll to You Too. I've never liked as much, and that's on here, the single banner. But I did see this tour live, and it was great. It was really good. And but Lick It Up, I don't like the word "you're gonna lick it up," all that stuff he does. It kind of, I love that stuff so much, and that kind of bugs me. That's the only reason it's a little lower. But but overall, there's some great tracks on it.
Yeah. I mean, you'll notice Kiss Alive 3 for me ranks much lower than some of the other live albums. But yeah, I would agree. And so my next ones, you're going to notice a bunch of compilations because I'm not a huge fan of compilations in general. So it's no knock to Kiss. It's just, for most bands, I don't listen to compilations. And the Kiss World was my number 29, which I don't own. I did like, I like all the songs. I streamed it the other day. I was like, oh, this is pretty good. But it didn't blow my mind in any way. Next was is another compilation, which was it's actually a live album, which I actually really enjoyed, Kiss Symphony. I really enjoyed it, but I have to be honest with you, I've only listened to it twice. So it might be something that I have to listen to more, but I did enjoy it. Then I put Kiss Icon, which is another compilation, which I don't own. Right there, which I thought the songs were great on there. And then I went with Paul Stanley's solo album. So I do really love the Paul Stanley solo album, and some people might wonder why it's so low, but it's just the other albums I just absolutely love more. But I've always loved this from the first day I got it. I still love it today. Hopefully, I can explain myself why I love the others more. Next is going to be Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits, which I still love, but why does it rank harder than the other compilations? For me, it's just because I have nostalgia attached to it. I remember watching Let's Put the X in Sex. I bought this. I went and saw the movie Major League, and I bought it the same day as seeing that movie in the theater, which is one of my favorite movies. So it was like, I saw an awesome movie. I came home, I listened to the compilation, I absolutely loved it. Aaron, you traded me so I could have the hype sticker, and I will
Yeah.
for always, always, always thank you for that. So yeah, so that is my next one. So let me just make sure I've got them all. So yeah, I did Kiss World as my number 29, Kiss Symphony as 28, Paul Stanley as 26, and Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits as number 25.
Great choices.
All right, thanks, man.
Yeah, and for me, I'm continuing on with that because my number 29 is Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits. A little lower than you, but I
Yep.
love it. I actually really like this with the X and Sex and You Make Me Rock Hard. I think those are great songs.
Yep.
I never got the hate that's come for them now. I
Yep.
always the only thing is I'm a huge Eric Carr fan, but I prefer the original version of Beth. And some
Yeah.
of the things, the solos on them is a little different, but overall great. And when this came out, they were my favorite band in the world at that point in my life. They're still one of my top three, and this introduced me to a lot of the older Kiss, like the '70s stuff, because I was into the '80s Kiss first. And when I
Okay.
got like, oh, cool, they have all these older songs mixed in with it, and then that really got me going into the '70s stuff. And
Nice.
my number 28 now is going to be the Gene Simmons solo record, which a lot of this album I absolutely love. I love, Radioactive and See You Tonight, I think is amazing. I love that. Always Near You Know Where to Hide is another one I love, but I don't really love When You Rush Upon a Star. And there's it's a little too overproduced in parts, has like a lot of weird background singing in certain
Yeah,
songs, stuff like that. A lot of good guest stars on it though. And it's really good. I really like the Gene solo album.
I agree.
Yep. And number 27, Psycho Circus. And at this point, I got this the day it came out, the night it came out, at midnight,
Yeah,
actually. I was
me
doing
too.
in Utah. I was living in Utah at the time. And there was a record store there called Starbound Records, and it was open just for this. And we were just getting done with the store doing inventory. So I went over and grabbed it. And I actually got the Japanese CD version with the extra Ace Frehley song, which is really cool. But this, I think, is a great album. It's not quite as good. If Ace and Peter would have been on it more, it would have been
Yeah,
better. Because you can tell Ace isn't really playing on the songs. His guitar tone is so recognizable. But
right.
like Journey of a Thousand Years is awesome. I love the song Into the Void. Within is one of my favorite Gene Simmons songs, later day Gene songs. There's some great songs on here. Where am I? 26. Got the Paul Stanley solo album. So a lot of our lists have been similar. And this one
Yep.
is the most Kiss sounding of all the solo albums, probably. But there's a couple songs on here I don't like quite as much. That's why it's so low. Like Take Me Away Together is one, and Hold Me, Touch Me, Think of Me When We're Apart. Those songs I don't really care for as much. But Wouldn't You Like to Know Me and Ain't Quite Right, Move On. A lot of this stuff is just classic Kiss. Amazing.
Yeah.
And then, so is that we're ending or are doing 25 here?
Um, yeah, I mean, if you could do 25, I think, right?
Yeah, that's what. Did you go to 25 or 26?
Yeah, so I just did my number. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I did 25.
Okay, so my number 25, and this is amazing. I love this. My only problem is it should have been a double album. Best of solo albums at 25. And it's really cool, but it's just so hard only hearing New York Groove, Rip It Out, Speed Back to My Baby from Ace. They could have put a
Yeah.
bunch more in the Peter Criss songs. Might have picked a different song. Gene Simmons. I wish they wouldn't have put "See You in Your Dreams" and they would have put a different one. Like "Always Near You, Nowhere to Hide" or "See You
Yeah.
Tonight." Cool. But this is an awesome solo album. I mean, an awesome compilation. I really love listening to that.
Yeah, I love it. All right. Good choices, dude. So I'm gonna go with Kiss Alive 3, and I think you summarized it perfectly. I mean, at this point in my life, I was just so fanatical about Kiss, so it always will hold a deep place in my heart. But Paul Stanley is a little cringy on certain parts, where his stage banter, but his voice sounds fantastic, and the songs are fantastic. And I know that, like you said, God gave rock and roll to you. It's not the best, but my friend Rob, it was like his favorite track. So like, Rob, that's for you, dude. Which is so funny that God gave rock and roll to you as his favorite track. You hit the nail on the head with this. It should have been a double album, and each person should have had on the side. If it had been that way, this could rank so much higher. But it's not bad at all, and I do like the songs. And like you said, I just think you summarized it perfectly. I might tweak the song slightly, but overall, it's a great compilation. And if you've never heard the solo albums, that's a great place to start. Definitely. The next one is probably going to shock people because it's a lot of people's one of their favorite compilations, and I do absolutely love it. And that is Killers. There's nothing bad to say about this album at all. It's just that the others I listen to more. That's really it. You could ask me tomorrow, and this might be, slightly higher. But today, at this point, I'm going to go with Killers. And this is why it's probably shocking, because this is probably people's least favorite. But I'm going to go with Crazy Nights. And people might be like, Josh, how can you like Crazy Nights more than some of these others that are so iconic? But, Crazy Nights for me, I know that some people say that they're trying to sound like Bon Jovi or whatever. I just really liked it. I mean, like, I liked it as a kid. I like it now. I play it now. I even like the songs that people hate, like Turn on the Night and Reason to Live. And I know that some people hate those songs, but to me, I don't have to apologize. I love it. I loved it then. I love it now. It is what it is. But I'm going with Crazy Nights.
Is that up to 20?
Yeah, that's up to 20.
So this is going to be a little crazy. We're a little similar on a lot of this. My number 24 is going to be double platinum, actually.
There you go.
Great compilation. Yep. The only thing I don't care for on this is where they took the intro to Rock Bottom and stuck it onto She, because Rock Bottom's on here. But other than that, I mean, this is an amazing compilation. Yep. And this is one of the first things I got into that got me into the older Kiss as well. And and it's just a great compilation. And number 23, I've got Kiss Unmasked. And I love a lot of the songs on here. The Ace Frehley songs are amazing. Is That You is one of my favorites. I love that. I even really love Shandy. I love every song on this. It's just a little more slick and overproduced, but it's great. Right. Song. Really killer album. And I do find myself listening to this quite a bit still. At number 22, I've got the Kiss Symphony. And I got to thank you for sending me this. I just got it.
You're welcome.
Sounds amazing. And I have to say, it's really more enjoyable almost to watch it on DVD because you actually see it, and it's a different experience. Almost as in the same way that I got into Saint Anger with the live DVD with it. It's almost the same thing with this, but I really enjoy the Kiss ensemble a lot with the acoustic, and the symphony is just amazing. The weakest part is just them playing live, but it's really good too. The only thing the only thing I wish they would have done differently is I wish they would have not played almost like All a Destroyer and mixed it up a bit of the symphony. But other than that, it's really good.
I was shocked that they did Forever on that album because they never touched the 80s stuff for the most part. Besides, look it up.
I love Forever too.
Yep.
So that's a good one.
Me too.
Number 21. This is really crazy. I got Kiss Killers. And this is the expanded version that also has Escape from the Island on it. which
Yep.
really I love. And I really, it's a really good selection of songs. I really like the four originals on here. I'm a Legend and I, Down on Your Knees, Nowhere to Run, and Partners in Crime. Those are all great. But it's a really good compilation. The only thing that compilations like you, I don't like as well because it's usually the overplayed songs on there. But there's a couple
Right.
of deep tracks on that that's really good. And at number 20, Crazy Nights. Exact same as you for 21 and 20. That's crazy.
That's
Crazy.
awesome.
And I love this album. It's a little slick and overproduced. That's the only reason it's lower. But
Yeah.
like Hell or High Water, I love that song. I love When Your Walls Come Down. Great stuff. Reason to Live is one of their best ballads. Killer album. So now we're up to 19.
Yep.
That was kind of crazy how our 21 and 20 of all of them were the exact same.
I know. And it's awesome that we're so similar in some ways. I'm sure we'll be dramatically different in others. I'm sure the next one you might have much, much higher. And I'm going to go with Dynasty, which I do love this album, 2000, man. I love Sure Know Something. That's one of my favorite, I would say. I mean, to me, it's a massive hit, but Kiss never plays it. But to me, if you said like, oh, rank some of the Kiss hits, Sure Know Something is like, phew, that's such a great song. I know some people say it's a disco album. I have nothing bad to say about this album. I think it's just fantastic. I just like the others more. The next one has made such a huge shift in the last 5 years. As you know, Aaron, I made a Kiss ranking 5 years ago, and it was almost dead last. And I think that one day I was like sitting there and I'm like, oh, I'll listen to like this again. And it just blew my mind. And I was like, holy shit, was I wrong about this? And some of my subscribers call me out on it, and I appreciate that. And that's Carnival of Souls. I think it fucking kicks ass, man. It's heavy. I know some people say it's grungy, but I don't know about that. I just think that it's a heavy album. It's a dark album. I do enjoy my Kiss happy, you know what I mean? Like, because most of their albums are pretty upbeat and happy. They're singing about women and sex, but I dig it. You know how I feel about the album cover. I wish they would re-release this for the anniversary and do whatever their original idea was for the album cover. Give us something cool with a title like Carnival of Souls. We should have a really cool album cover. Next, I'm going to go Hot in the Shade. Here's the funny thing about this album is some songs that people really dislike are some of my favorite songs on this album, like Cadillac Dreams. I really love that song. Little Caesar, I love that song. This was much lower in my original ranking, and I just felt it was too long. But what I did was I sat down and I said, well, what songs would I take out? And there's not a ton of songs that I would take out. Overall, I probably wouldn't take out anything because I'm just like, you know what? I've lived with it this long. I'm just gonna keep it the way it is. But I really love it. It's gone way up in my rankings, as you probably can tell if you've watched that other video. Next one has gone down in my rankings, and that's Kiss Revenge. And I think the reason why this has gone down is just that like albums like Carnival of Souls, I've listened to a lot more in the recent years. Where this, I would say in the 90s, I listened to all the time, and probably in the 2000s. And my favorite song on this is a song that a lot of people hate, which is Domino. I love that song. I can't explain why I love it so much, Aaron. People think I'm crazy. Like even Kiss fans are like, really? Domino is your favorite on that? It is. I just can't explain it. And then next, I mean, this is a stone cold masterpiece. And the rest of the albums from this point on, Aaron, they could shift so dramatically. They really could. I mean, like you could, notice them moving 10 spaces, 5 spaces, because I love them so much. And I'm going to go with Asylum. And, one of the reasons why I love this album so much is because even though I discovered Kiss with their 70s albums, my first 2 Kiss albums I stole from my dad were Kiss Alive and Double Platinum. I was an 80s Kiss kid. You know what I mean? I remember the music videos on MTV. They were the coolest. They were cool then. I never thought I never had negative thoughts about Kiss. That's why it was so shocking when I finally got the internet and people were like, bashing Kiss because I was like, holy shit, I thought everybody loved Kiss. I was lucky enough to go to school where I didn't, kids didn't pick on me about my love of Kiss. But yeah, Asylum, that's next. I love this album, and I love most of these albums. I'm probably talking redundantly. Go ahead, Aaron.
It's hard not to, though, when there's so many albums.
Yeah.
Okay, at number 19. Now, this is going to shock some people, maybe. But at number 19 for me is Destroy. And, all this top 20 are all-time classics to me. And when I do my ranking, these are all in my top 100 probably from this point forward of albums of all time. And this one might be right on the edge of 100, somewhere in there. But it's just the only reason is just I know the songs so well that I don't get as excited when I hear a lot of them. Like Shout It Out Loud, to me, I really love, but then after the 200th time, it gets kind of redundant, but it's a great song. A lot of songs like that, like Beth and Great Expectations. But I mean, Detroit Rock City, King of the Nighttime World, and God of Thunder, what a great way to start. A Sweet Pain, Flaming Youth, what a great album. Number 18, I got Animalize, really heavy album. Love this song. I love the deep cuts on it, especially like Get All You Can Take. Love that song. Lonely as a Hunter should have been a single. That's one of my favorites. I love that song. Under the Gun. But this album, it's just, I was an 80s Kiss guy. That's what I got into first. So they're all the 80s stuff is up pretty high for me. This is actually pretty high, 18. Number 17, and like you, this one has gone down over the years for me, just for a couple songs. And that's Revenge. And I love Revenge. And when it came out, I was obsessed with it. I played it over and over and over. But some of the songs really hold up, and other ones don't hold up as well in hindsight. But I love Domino too, but I just always I was a big Black and Blue fan, so it had that nasty riff in it, which I recognized the first time I heard it. So it kind of threw me, but I still love the song. But stuff like Paralyzed and Thou Shalt Not, Heart of Chrome is my favorite on here. I love Heart of Chrome. Great. Unholy, what a great song. Yeah. And back in the when that came out, late, was that 91, 92, somewhere in there? Yeah. I was in Portland, and all the strip clubs you went to, they were playing Take It Off, and every one of them. Yeah.
So good memories attached to that song.
Number 16, I got Kiss Unplugged. What a fantastic Unplugged. Yeah. My second favorite Unplugged album ever after Alice in Chains. And then probably Tesla would be my third. This really isn't Unplugged, but they started it. Yeah. This is phenomenal. I love how they sound Unplugged. And it's really cool when they have all 6 of them at the end with Bruce Kulick and Peter Criss joining the band. And wow, it's amazing. Nothing to Lose. And 2000 Man was amazing on this. Yeah. Fantastic album. And I had the DVD, the VHS tape of it. I wore it out and I loaned it to someone, never got it back. So, yeah, that's a tough one. Okay, number 15. Is that what we're going to? 15? Yep. I believe. Carnival of Souls. And the only thing wrong with this is the album cover. It's a cool album cover, but really, Psycho Circus album cover, they could have done something like that with this. Yeah. Instead of that. But what a fantastic album. Hate and Rain right off the bat. I love Rain. I played it on that video for Chris. Master and Slave, that was all over the radio in Utah when I was living there. Jungle was as well. But stuff like In My Head, I love that one. Seduction of the Innocents, maybe my favorite. Great album. Have Bruce Kulick singing one. Probably about the worst song on here, but it's still cool to have him singing. But I think it's very underrated.
I would agree. Yeah. And I do think that we will probably see one day a better album cover. I would think that, Kiss is the kings of marketing. And I do wish they would come out with Unplugged Blu-ray, like 4K. You know what I mean? Like they must have the original film print, and that I'd buy that in a second.
I think take my money. Unplugged actually shocked a lot of people because a lot of people say, "Oh, Kiss can't play." They're doing all that on acoustic, and they're like, "Okay, it kind of shuts the people up," but they still deny it. A lot of the Kiss haters.
Oh yeah, they were amazing, and you'll see when you see how high it is ranked in my list. You might be surprised. Okay, I'm gonna go with Kiss Destroyer, and it's just like you said. It's just the overplayed factor of it. I know all the songs at the back of my hand. But I try to remind myself how awesome this album is. because it really is awesome. So when I rank it lower, I don't want people thinking like, oh, this is someone that like Jeff. You know, Jeff goes, Dark Side of the Moon is my favorite album. Don't hate, right? Yeah, I can understand if this is your favorite Kiss album. It's loaded with like
Oh
great
yeah.
songs, hits, and the production is awesome. Yeah, I mean, so I don't blame anybody. I've just listened to it my entire life. So it's got a little bit lower. Number 13 is going to be Animalize.
Mm.
Just a fantastic album. And this and Asylum go back and forth. You know, and I don't even really mind the album cover. I know they could have gone with a much cooler album cover, but I don't really mind it. You know, and plus I have that awesome hype sticker. So you know.
Love that.
All right. Yeah. So next is number 13. And I am gonna go, I mean, yeah, number 12, actually. I'm sorry. Gonna go with Rock and Roll Over,
Mm.
which I wouldn't blame anybody if this was like their favorite Kiss album. Because I can guarantee you at one point in my life, it probably was my favorite Kiss album. And probably recently. And you know, it's when I was a kid, Calling Dr. Love, oh my God, that was like my favorite song. And so it's surprisingly that I have it rock at number 12, but
Mm.
there's just some others I've listened to more recently. Love Gun, another fantastic one. That song, Love Gun, I just remember the first time I heard it and the drums, and it's like, holy, I can still, like, the hair stands up in my arm just thinking about how powerful that is. And looking at the imagery, and I don't see how any young man can't fall in love with if someone handed a 7-year-old this record and was like, listen to this, and they look like superheroes. I mean, like, you can imagine how obsessed I was. And then you might be thinking, how the hell do you have a compilation so high when you don't like compilations? And it's because it was the second Kiss album I ever owned, you know, which technically was stealing from my dad. But so you know, to me, this was you mentioned the rock bottom intro, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know it any other way. And then when I finally got, you know, the original album, and I was like, holy shit, there's like a whole nother part to this. You know? So yeah, but I don't mind the remixes. I totally get where you're coming from with this album. But I definitely dig it. So that's my number 10. And that's probably out of compilations, not live albums, because some of my favorite albums are live albums. But out of any band compilations, that one probably ranks very highly, probably one of the highest. So
Yeah, it's great. I love it too. I had it on cassette originally, and it blew me away. I was like, oh my God, they did all these great songs in the 70s. It's like I didn't know them that well. It blew me away.
yeah,
That's a great compilation. Okay, where am I at? Number 14.
yeah,
From the Elder. Right in the middle of my Kiss ranking. I absolutely love this album. And like you mentioned, I did a Tipsy Tuesday with this, but it got blocked
yeah,
worldwide. Like I was so disappointed because I had so many great stories about it. And I mean, I love this. I got my name Almer from this, so for
yeah.
pronouncing it wrong, and I've told the story a million times. But stuff like Dark Light and Mr. Blackwell, wow, I love this. And Escape from the Island, I think this is amazingly underrated. Great, great album. Number 13, Hits, Hot in the Shade. I played this on an endless loop when it came out. Me and my friends said we just drive around, just playing it over and over and singing along. Love this album. You Love Me to Hate You is so good. Betrayed. Oh man, this is so good. Boomerang is almost a speed metal song. Love Boomerang, but I
Me
don't
too.
think they should just put it as a double record, and people wouldn't have said it's bloated. You
Yeah,
know, they could have actually added another song. But I love this. I love the version of Hide Your Heart too. I love that song. I love everything on this. Forever, the drumming on Forever. If you don't like that song, go focus just on the drumming. Eric Carr's drumming on that. It's just amazing for a ballad how great the drumming is, and this is amazing. And thank you, Mike, from Mike Scott the Spencer, sending me this one with the Bruce Kulick autograph.
love it.
Love that.
And I love Forever too, by the way. I think that song is fantastic.
My second favorite ballad they did. My favorite was on Revenge. I didn't mention it, but it's what the hell's the name of it? I can't think.
Every time I look at you,
Every time I look at you, I think that's my favorite Kiss ballad.
oh, fantastic.
Okay, number 11, and this is going to surprise some people because it's not my top 10, but it's Kiss Alive. Love this album.
Oh,
One of my top 5 live albums of all time. Probably number 2. But it's just amazing. I love the drum solo on 100,000 Years.
Yeah.
Everyone does. You know, every song's good on here. They
Yeah.
sound fresh. I prefer the studio versions of them usually, but these are not worse. They're just different.
Yeah.
They're just amazing. Parasite and She and all that stuff on here, just awesome. One of the best live albums ever. And at number 10, no, I'm at 11. That was 12. Okay. Number 11, I got the debut.
Wow.
Kiss. Love this album. And I love this version better without Kissing Time. You know, I do like that. But this is just half of it is the best of. And then they got like Let Me Know and Love Thief from Kiss. And, you know, but what a great debut. Cold Gin. Oh, man. Black Diamond. Strutter and Black Diamond are my top 10 Kiss songs. So, you know, it's awesome. Both of those are so good. And at number 10, I got the Dynasty. And, you know, even I Was Made for Loving You, I love that song. I don't care what anyone says. It, you know, might have a go beat or whatever, but that's the only thing on here remotely like that.
Right.
This is a solid, heavier than you think album. Stuff like Charisma and Hard Times, one of my very favorite Ace Frehley songs. I absolutely love Hard Times. I like that even better than 2000 Man, which is one of my favorite covers ever. Love that. X-Ray Eyes. You got so many good songs on this. Like you said, Sure Know Something. That bass line on that is so good. Man, Magic Touch, one of the most underrated Paul Stanley songs. Solid album.
Yeah.
So now we can just we'll do one at a time from now on, starting with number 9.
Yeah, sounds good. My number 9 is going to be Lick It Up. And I love this album. I love it so much that it could be number 1. Young and Wasted, Exciter. Yeah, I mean, I think Lick It Up is my least favorite song on the album, which was the hit. But it's so good. On the 8th Day, Dance All Over Your Face. I mean, I don't have anything bad to say about this. I really love Vinnie Vincent. You know, yeah, I love the Vinnie Vincent Invasion. I do enjoy the 2 Kiss albums with Vinnie Vincent more than the Vinnie Vincent Invasion. I just think it was a great match for Kiss. I wish I could see what else they would have done together. But yeah, Lick It Up is my number 9.
Nice. My number 9, in the same vein almost, is Asylum. And I think this is one of the most underrated records. I love how it starts out with the drumming on King of the Mountain. It's just Eric Carr right there. Bam. And the 2 singles, I mean, the 3 singles are all great. Who Wants to Be Lonely, Tears Are Falling, and All Night. I even love All Night a lot. Radar for Love and Secretly Cruel and Trial by Fire. Those 2 Gene songs are 2 of my very favorites he did in the 80s. But I love every song on this. A lot of the deep cuts are really heavy, like Any Way You Slice It, King of the Mountain, you know, just really good. Love it. Love Asylum.
Awesome. Yeah, fantastic. All right. My number 8 is going to be Creatures of the Night. The Vinnie Vincent album that I didn't know Vinnie Vincent played on when I was younger. But, you know, I could tell it wasn't Ace. I mean, it didn't sound like Ace. I just thought Ace was trying to change his sound or something. I just couldn't figure it out. But I actually discovered Creatures of the Night with the alternative cover, which I have down. Yep, you have up there. And that, so when I got this, and it was the same tracks but a different order. It was kind of weird, but at the same time exciting. You know, I absolutely love this album, War Machine. I remember reading the credits and thinking, is that the same Bryan Adams as You Run to You, Bryan Adams? Cuts Like a Knife, Bryan Adams, but it is. Eric Carr's drumming is like amazing on this. This could easily be number 1, but I'm gonna go with number 8 as Creatures of the Night.
It's weird. They almost could have used something similar to that on Animalize because the eyes are glowing too.
Yeah, but, I totally see that.
Yep, number 8. I'm gonna take this out. This is my number 8 is gonna be Love Gun. I know that's Chris Brophy's favorite. Hi, Chris. And for a good reason. I mean, anything in the top 10, like you said, could be number 1 at any time. Yeah. This is phenomenal. I Stole Your Love to start it. Just one of the best Paul Stanley openers ever. Almost Human is great. Shock Me, the first Ace Frehley. I have the gatefold version.
Awesome.
Yeah. What a great album. I love Love Gun. Hooligan, one of the best Peter Criss songs on here too. Love it. The only thing that the only reason it's probably at number 8 and not higher is, Then She Kissed Me and Tomorrow Into Night. Tomorrow Into Night's good, but it's almost like a sequel to Shout Out Loud in a way. They're both really excellent song, but I love it. Number 8.
Yeah, and they were cranking these albums out so quickly. Imagine if it was, today bands take 4 or 5 years between albums. Could you imagine what Kiss would have given us if they had taken 4 years between albums? But not that I'm complaining. I'm just saying, could you imagine, they were cranking these albums out and they were so good. Yeah, and this one is tough to put so low. I mean, I wish I could put it number 1, like you said, and that's going to be Dressed to Kill. I mean, I love every single song on this. And I probably shouldn't keep saying that, but everything in the top 10, I love every single song on. It just is what it is. But Room Service, Two Timers, which is so good. It actually has, Rock and Roll All Night, which was a big hit on it, on the live album. But, even when I hear that song, I still think, there's a reason why this was their biggest hit. It is a great song. And I love this album. So Dressed to Kill.
Great one. Number 7, my favorite live album of all time, Alive 2. But the reason it's number 7 isn't the live part, it's the studio side. With Rocket, Larger Than Life, All American Man, 3 of my top 10 Kiss songs right there on one side of a record. And the live songs are great too. A great track list. Everything from Detroit Rock City to Shout Out Loud. It bookends with Destroyer, has all the stuff, Rock and Roll Over, and Love Gun. What a great album. I think actually, if this was just a solid live album, I would like Alive a little better. But because of that studio side, I got it. It's number 7 for me. Love this album so much. And what a great cover, too.
Oh, yeah.
The pictures on there, they're just awesome.
I mean, it might be my favorite Kiss cover. It ranks high for me. You'll see it when we get there. Ace Frehley's solo album could easily be number 1. It's just fantastic. I mean, I can't even imagine what the other members of Kiss were thinking when they heard this and they heard how awesome it is. And Still Blind, Rip It Out. And everybody knows every track on this album. But imagine if you could say, okay, well, Bruce Springsteen only had 1 album, right? And it was all his freaking unbelievable hits, right? That's essentially what Ace Frehley did here. He has some great songs on Frehley's Comet, and I love those albums. But my God, he knocked it out of the park. It's every single song on here is an Ace Frehley staple, right? If you saw him at concert tomorrow, he did just this album, you would leave satisfied, right? Because you'd be like, holy shit, that was a friggin' awesome concert. It just is a testament to, I mean, he was firing on all cylinders by the time this came out. Absolutely love it. And like I said, it could easily be number 1, but it's not today. It's number 6. So there we go.
Records in our top 10, but just different orders.
Yeah, exactly.
Number 6 for me is going to be Lick It Up. Love this album so much. Oh man, it's one of the heaviest albums they did. I mean, there's a handful, 5 records are their heaviest. This has been the top 5. Like you said, Exciter, Not for the Innocents, one of the best Gene Simmons songs. Fits Like a Glove. I love that one. Man, and on the 8th, they could have been a single, like you said. All Hell's Breaking Loose. Love. Video's a little funky now when you watch it, but the song is great. Love it.
Yeah.
Give Me More, Young and Wasted. Lick It Up. I love that song. It has one of my favorite lines of any Kiss song. You got to live like you're on vacation. Just perfect. Yep. Number 6.
Love it, dude.
Awesome album.
Oh, incredible album. My number 5, which was my number 1 in my original ranking video, is the first Kiss album. And I love it just as much as I love it then. It's just like I said, things shift and change depending on my day. Black Diamond is my favorite Kiss song. This is a masterpiece. I don't mind Kissin' Time, but it's easily my least favorite song on the album. But that being said, I do absolutely love this album. And if it was Desert Island Disc, this would be in consideration for one of the albums that we grab. So love it.
I'm afraid I have to take my whole top 20. Only choose one, I'd take the top 20 somehow. Yep. I sneak in there. Okay, number 5. you just were talking about this one. Dressed
Yep.
to Kill #5, phenomenal record. Every song. Rock Bottom's one of my favorites. Come On and Love Me's on here. She, just amazing. It's amazing they're pumping out 2 albums in a year at
I
this point
know.
with all these classic songs. And all the Kiss haters that say Kiss are a joke or Kiss can't play, put She on for them and don't tell them it's Kiss and see what they say. It's just
Yeah.
amazing. Love this freaking album. I actually did this on a Tipsy Tuesday once. I was a little too tipsy.
Yeah. I mean, I was a lot like you, where I hung out with a lot of metalheads, and when I was younger, and some metalheads were like into the thrash, and others were into the hard rock. But I would put Parasite and She. If I knew I was hanging out with the people that like thrash, I would put Parasite and She. I knew that they would like those songs. You know, I just wait for it to come on. I wouldn't say shit, and then they're like, "Oh, this is a good song." Yeah, it's Kiss. This could easily be my number one. You're gonna notice a theme for my top 3.
Okay.
But we're at number 4, so we'll save that. And it Harder Than Hell. You know, the first 3 Kiss albums are my favorite studio albums by Kiss at this moment in my life. I've always loved them. They're filled with just nothing but fantastic songs. This ranked lower for me earlier because of the production. But I've gone fond of the production. I know that they could take it now and use AI and just make it clean or whatever they wanted to do. There are some albums where I'm like, you know how Motley Crue '94, Tommy Lee's drums sound fantastic, right? They're like, oh my God, they're in your face. That's the one thing Bob Rock could do is drums. So when I hear production that's like muddy or something, I'm like, oh, I generally want to hear that big drum sound or something. But with this album, the songs are so good, I don't care anymore. I'm like, you know what? The muddy production actually has charm. It adds something to it, and I think if you took it away, I wouldn't like it as much. So keep it, Kiss. Don't fool around with it. Don't use AI or anything to clean it up. And as you could tell, I love it because it's my number 4 favorite Kiss album.
Yep. And that's it. You know, we're ranking 36 records, so obviously our top 5 is ones we absolutely love.
Yeah,
like unconditionally.
exactly.
My number 4, we're talking about this one too. My number 4 is the Ace Frehley solo record, and man, this blows the other 3 away. I love the other 3, but this is just a monster. You know, all the way from Rip It Out to Fractured Mirror. The first time he does his instrumental. You know, he kind of did it with the Rock Bottom intro, but then you get to Fractured Mirror and it just has this, it keeps you going. And a lot of instrumentals are just kind of throwaways. Not this one. It's amazing. I'm in Need of Love has a really, I mean, New York Groove was the biggest hit they had for sure from a top 20 single. That's amazing. But Ozone has always been like my favorite on here. It's, you know, me and my friends use that as a keyword when we were young for smoking. Or call it Ozone. Snowblind Ozone. What a great album. Number 4.
Okay. So you probably figured out that my top 3 are all live albums. And I just love Kiss live albums. And that's why I probably will love that Symphony one if I listen to it more. But I'm going to go with Kiss Alive too. And you're absolutely right, Aaron. The studio tracks add to this album. As a child, when I first got it, I'm like, oh, it would have been really cool if they had made it a full double album and saved those songs for their next album or something. But no, I like it the way it is. I love the album art. I love everything about it. Like you said, the extra tracks are so good. Rocket Ride. I mean, that song is incredible. And the live tracks are great too. Obviously, I picked it number 3.
Yeah, and I can see why those are your favorites too. I mean, there's no right or wrong on this.
Yep.
That's an amazing album.
Yep.
My number 3 is going to be Rock and Roll Over. And this has just got such a heavy sound, not like heavy like thrash, but just a in your face rock. Love it. I mean, Mr. Speed, there's nothing they ever did quite like Mr. Speed. I love Calling Dr. Love, you know, I Want You, all that stuff. Ladies Room, See You in Their Dreams. I love the version of this better than the Gene ones, but I like both versions. But, you know, it's even got Hard Luck Woman. Love that song too. I love this album. I think it's amazing. My number 3. And I love the cover too. Where you can kind of, as Jeff was doing. But Yeah, no matter, you put your favorite one in the top corner. That's how you always displayed it. So
Exactly. All right, so my number two is definitely shocking for a lot of people, but I'll explain it. So it's going to be unplugged. I honestly think, like you said, they proved so much to the world. They were, they did the Kiss convention, so they were firing on all cylinders acoustically. And then, a couple months maybe before it came on MTV, I remember reading that they reunited for this, and the
mhm.
anticipation was like building and building and building. And we used to go over my friend Eric's because his parents were divorced, and his when his father got kicked out, all the alcohol went in the garage. So we'd like we were underage. We'd take the alcohol, we'd pound it, we'd listen to Kiss all night. I mean, like we were like, yeah, we were crazy. And by the time we looked, this was like the Super Bowl. I mean,
Yeah,
that was the level of excitement the night that Kiss Unplugged was coming on MTV. We were all ready to go. We were pre-gaming it. We were out of our tree. And then they delivered and delivered with the deep cuts and the deep
yeah,
tracks and See You Tonight. And Paul Stanley did such a great vocal performance. And then when Kiss reunited and you're expecting, Ace Frehley comes out, and I wasn't expecting 2000, man. I don't know about you, but I'm thinking, okay, they're gonna do like Shock Me, and they do 2000, man. You're like, holy shit, they did 2000, man. And just all of them together. I had this dream that they would all go on tour, like one big happy family, Buse Kulick, and
mhm.
like it would be like they do a non-makeup set, then they do a makeup set. But I listen to this all the time. I love it, love it, love it. Yeah, I mean, I love this album so much. This is my OG press. I was thinking about buying a repress because I listen to it so much. I don't want anything bad to happen to this. It's just one of my favorite albums. It's one of my favorite live albums of any band, any artist. It's just perfect. I agree with you. Alice in Chains Unplugged, I might enjoy more. But it's not like a mile in between the two.
They're one and
Yeah,
two, 1A.
it's one and two, right?
Yeah.
It's neck and neck. It's I wouldn't want to disparage Kiss by saying they like Alice in Chains more. It's just Alice in Chains. It's like you think about. It's almost like a goodbye
Mhm.
to this great band, right? So uh, a sentimental feeling towards it. But yeah, I love it, dude. So go ahead, man. Hit me
And
with what you got.
it's got Domino, and then on the unedited version on the DVD or the VHS, they go into Domino and they mess up and start her over.
Oh wow,
Do they
yeah,
do that on the record? I can't remember. Or they
no,
just
on the
yeah.
record, it's just yeah.
But I really love how they start off with Coming Home, Plaster Caster, and Going Blind. Those three deep cuts. That's just really cool.
Yeah, and that's what we were all shocked. Like I can remember it like it was yesterday, just sitting there and expecting Kiss, because this is before the internet, kids, if you're watching this. So you couldn't Google and like what was the set list,
Yeah.
right? You just went in blind. And I'm expecting them to start off with Detroit Rock City
Yeah.
or maybe Creatures of the Night. And
Or Love
instead
Gun.
hit us with three deep tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit. And I remember everybody was blown away, even the non-Kiss fans. Like my sister was there. My sister, like she liked hard rock, but she couldn't tell you any of those songs. And she even was like, wow, this is really good. I'm like, hell yeah, it's good. So yeah.
Yeah. It makes me want to rank it higher, even though
Yeah, it's okay. I know you love it.
yeah, I do. Okay,
Yep.
and number two, Hotter Than Hell. Love this
Yep.
album. I love the production on it. It just has
Yep.
a raw quality to it that I really love, and some of the best songs around here. Parasite, Coming Home, All the Way, Watching You, one of their heaviest songs, and Parasite. Those two are like two of their heaviest songs on this one album. Strange Ways, though, man, that is one of my favorite songs with Peter Criss singing and that amazing Ace solo. Let
Yeah.
Me Go, roll everything on this. Number two for me, and it's very close to me. My number one.
I love it. Yeah, and Strange Ways is definitely, Peter Criss has so many great songs that I love, like Strange Ways, Baby Driver. And
Yeah,
that's why I think I was so shocked with his solo album because he has so
yeah,
many songs that I loved. You know what I mean? So I was expecting something different. And as a kid, I didn't realize that he didn't write. Like, I just assumed that he wrote What was that big hit that he had? I know he wrote Beth, but the other
Hard
one,
Limit?
yeah,
Hard Limit?
yeah, I just assumed he wrote it, right? But what do I know? All right, so my number one is Kiss Alive, and this has a sentimental value because it's how I discovered them. And I've told this story, but I'll tell it again for those who haven't heard. My dad had a big record collection, kind of like a wall, like Aaron, but it was a lot. Like there was classical, there was country. It wasn't all hard rock and heavy metal. So you like flip for like 40 minutes before you find something that looked interesting. And I just remember getting to this album and being like, what the hell is this? I need to listen to this. And the music matched the imagery. I remember flipping through the book and I remember taking it, like saying, okay, well, I'm going to take this to my room and listen to it more. So yeah, Kiss Alive, masterpiece of a live album. I don't care that it's studio doctored. That doesn't mean anything to me. It just sounds awesome. It is awesome. My number one.
Yeah, it's amazing. It could
Yep.
be my number one too. I mean,
Yep.
it's ideal. And for just straight live album, that would be my favorite ever, probably. You know,
It's awesome. Yeah, every song is great on it.
I just don't like live albums quite as much as studio usually, but that's one of them that I do.
Yeah, and
And
I'm opposite. I'm one of those weird people that gravitates more towards live albums, unless it's the greatest hits played faster, which
yeah,
Tom Petty says, like, nobody wants to hear the greatest hits played faster. You got to mix it up. You got to do something. Kiss definitely does with this by the explosions and, you know,
hmm
little did I know they were using real cannon sound effects, but I'm like, it sounds like a cannon, uh, it's just
it's
awesome.
amazing. And at
Yep,
least my
amazing.
one, which is Creatures of the Night. Love it.
Yeah,
And I love both versions. You know, with the version over there with Bruce Kulick and Eric Carr on it, with
yeah,
two songs that are flipped, which are Saint and Sinner and Killer, are flipped track wise. But
yep,
man, Vinnie Vincent was such a good songwriter with them, and the title song, "Rock and Roll Hell," like you said, with Brian Adams co-writing. That's pretty
yep,
interesting. That wasn't the one, was it? Was it Rock and Roll
yeah,
Hell? Yeah, that's
yeah. And War Machine, he did too.
yeah, that's right.
Yep,
War Machine, one of my favorites. I still
yep,
love you. Paul Stanley's best vocal performances, but Eric Carr is what makes this album. His drumming just launched Kiss into the new decade of the '80s, and I miss Eric Carr.
oh
and
yeah.
Ace was. I wish Ace would have played a little more on it. I mean, I don't know if he did anything on it, but it doesn't matter. He was there, sort of.
Yep.
He was there for
So,
the. But it's my
yeah,
favorite album.
it's awesome. I love it, and I could totally see why it's your number one. It could easily be my number one. Yeah, I just remember loving it as a kid and loving it just as much today, and I never get sick of it. And that's the thing with the Kiss albums is that there's so much and it's so diverse. And
Mhm.
I do feel like a lot of people, their childhood, trying to think of the right word, prejudice
Mhm.
towards certain things can affect their choices in music. Like when I was a kid, I hated, the a lot of the pop music of the 80s, the late 80s especially. But now I can understand it. Like I can listen to it and say, like, oh, with an adult eye, like I can see why people like this. It might be not my type of music, but I can understand it. And that's what I say to the people, like if you're out there and you're on the fence with Kiss and maybe you only heard the hits, dive in, go listen to it. Like go listen to Almost Human or go listen to Baby Driver. They're so diverse and so many different uh of music and sounds. You're bound to find something you like in these 36 hours. That's my
Yeah, and yeah, that's it. But Paul Stanley or Gene Simmons always said they were trying to be like the heavy metal Beatles, because
yeah,
everyone had their own personality, their own. Everyone was like a star in the band. That's what I liked about them too. They all had their own personalities, their own songs they did. Kind of matched the Beatles too, or Peter Chris, like Ringo had a different voice than the rest of the
yeah.
band. It's very similar. A lot of people that don't like Kiss totally disagree with that, but if you actually know their songs and their stuff, you can see it. So
I totally agree. And, obviously millions of people love Kiss, right? It's not a fluke, it's not a joke. There's a literal Kiss army that's out there of people. Even Kurt Cobain loved Kiss. I don't necessarily like Nirvana, but he obviously had good taste in music, so like, yeah, it's, I just can't see you being a kid that likes hard rock in the 70s or 80s. I mean, Kiss was everything. They were everywhere. Yeah, so I love it. And Aaron, I love that you decided to do this video, or we decided to do this video together.
Is it?
Uh, yeah, I mean, it was fantastic ranking them and switching them. And my list, did your list change at all over the last couple of days, or did they stay pretty steady?
I changed a couple, but it was pretty much the same. I mean, I've heard all these albums so much that they're pretty much set, but even my number 35, no, number 33, 32, that is a top album of all time for me. It's like I love every album on this list. There's only two that I don't love that I really like. Those are the newer ones,
Yeah.
but other than that, I love every one of them. And I think they're just an amazing band. And I've seen them a couple of times. And looking back, it's kind of weird. Looking back at this one here, I'll show you if I can find it. Well, I'm talking about Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits. When that came out, that was their 15th year. And looking back at that time, you thought that was like they were an old band. And it's just amazing so long after that. Because when it came out, it was 15 years is all. They had all those albums in 15 years, everything before Smashes. So that's kind of crazy.
It is crazy because I do remember feeling like, oh, they're like veterans, but it's nothing now when you think about 15 years for a band. Nowadays, 15 years, a band might have 4 albums.
Yeah, now it's like 40 or 50 years they've been going. I don't.
Yeah, it's just insane.
50 years, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, man, that was awesome.
Right.
What was your what year in your life would you say you were the biggest Kiss fanatic?
Between like 87 and 93 or so, and that all the way up to almost 2000 until I discovered Clutch. They were I discovered Clutch around, I don't remember the year. It's when Pure Curie came out. So that was a good about 15, almost 15 years. They were my favorite band, and they're still. But that's starting 87, about after Asylum, between Asylum and Crazy Nights, Asylum, Smashes, Thrashes, Crazy Nights, that era is when I was really full Kissed, just obsessed with them. And then for the few years after that, and I have been my whole life since then.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you. That's probably the decade, the time and a half. I mean, there were always other bands competing, like the Misfits and Danzig. We know I'm obsessed with that, but Kiss was right in the fold with that. I think in the year 2000 or 2000 and my Kiss, that's when they dipped. And it wasn't because of like you with Clutch. I was just frustrated that they were doing the same set list every day. And then, Ace was out of the band. And I was like, oh man, and nothing against Tommy Thayer. You know what I mean? Like, but I don't blame him for joining Kiss. I mean, imagine if someone asked you to join Kiss. But that's where I would say it dipped. I never disliked Kiss or they never dropped out of my top favorite bands. I would just say that's when I stopped becoming as fanatical because I was kind of like, like Ace is gone. They're not going to do another album. They're not going to follow up Psycho Circus. I just got frustrated, which I'm sure a lot of Kiss fans did. Like they wanted probably Ace to stay in the band, I would think. But who are we?
Yeah, it would have been different if they would have given Eric Singer and Tommy Thayer their own personal makeup instead of having them copy. I think that's what threw me for a loop a bit. I didn't like them copying that, even though I liked it a lot. I didn't like that they tried to take their personas on.
I would agree, and I might have, at that point accepted it as a brand new Kiss. You know what I mean? Like, hey, because I love the '80s Kiss. Yeah, I think you're right. That probably did leave a sour taste in my mouth a little bit of like, but that being said, man, they had such a legacy of love from me that it wasn't like a dramatic dip. And like, oh, it was just other bands moved up the slots, But that being said, I mean, this is a band that I've loved since I was, under 10. It's You know, I said the other day in a video that Van Halen was the first band I fell in love with. But what I mean by that is probably is the first band I fell in love with that I felt like I discovered on my own. Like my
Hmm.
dad didn't introduce me to Van Halen. All the other bands like the Beatles and Kiss and um, you know, the Stones, he got me into those bands, you know, Iron Butterfly and Mountain and to my Led Zeppelin. To my dad, that was heavy metal. You know, he was like, but Van Halen was that band that I discovered without his influence, you know. But yeah, Kiss, I love it, dude. Thanks for doing this video.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a great time. And yeah, thanks a lot. And we'll see everyone next time. Have a
Bye,
good one.
guys. Dude, that was fun.
I'm trying to, I think it's still recording here. I can't turn it off. And